What's going on, Ohio Cannabis Report family? It's your guy Gerald Moore Jr. back with another episode of Ohio Cannabis Report with some news and some updates coming out of Ohio. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for subscribing, commenting, liking. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and all other social media platforms. We do have a Substack. I need to add some of that stuff into our YouTube description and stuff like that, so you can follow us everywhere. But be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this page so we can continue to produce this content for you guys. Again, we have a Ohio Cannabis Town Hall that'll be taking place September 6, 2025 from 3:30 to 5:30 at the Columbus Downtown Metropolitan Library. We'll have some people from the Ohio cannabis industry, some lobbyists, legislators, entrepreneurs, and people that actually work in the industry, bud tenders, or on the administrative side. I'll be moderating that conversation. So definitely tap in. You can go find RSVP tickets at ohiocannabislive.com/events. You can also find the event on Facebook, just under Ohio Cannabis Town Hall. You do not have to, this is a free event. You don't have to RSVP, but we just suggest that you RSVP just to help us know how many people are going to be at the event. And it is a limited event. I mean, I think we only have maybe 50 to 75 seats in the library. So we have one of the bigger rooms. So please come support. If you have questions, if you have anything that you want us to, any topics you want us to bring up. Obviously, we're going to talk about policy. We're going to talk about the growth of the industry. We're going to talk about social equity, the community fund. We'll talk about new legislation that the GOP was trying to install before summer break. And we'll just continue to have conversations about how to grow and expand the Ohio cannabis industry. So with no further ado, I will share some recent topics with you guys, some recent stories coming out of the Ohio cannabis community. So here we have this article is by NBC4 out of Pike County. Betrayal, vendors say Ohio Cannabis Festival has significant safety concerns. Waverly, Ohio, hundreds of marijuana enthusiasts and vendors descended upon Waverly Riverbank in July for the second annual Stargazers Cannabis Festival, but not everyone left feeling peaceful. If they weren't playing music, it would have looked like an episode of The Walking Dead, artist and vendor Hannah Anderson said. Stargazer Cannabis Festival began in 2024 as a weekend of love and weed after Ohio legalized recreational cannabis. Organizers Chad Thompson said weather concerns leading up to the event forced them to quickly adapt to the venue to avoid flooded areas. Vendors told NBC4 the venue felt completely unsafe, alleging lax security, inadequate facilities, and difficult conditions. After a large inaugural turnout, Thompson moved Stargazer Festival to the banks of the Scioto River this year for some more space. Heavy rain before the event left the area partly flooded, and Thompson said he only confirmed they would be able to host the event on the site July 19th, just days before the vendors arrived. With flooding, the festival had significantly less land to work with, Thompson said. They had planned to have the vendors near the site's electrical power for ease of use, but floods forced them to relocate much of the event. Vendors could arrive starting July 23rd, but Thompson said the scope of their electrical issues was not clear until the festival opened July 25th. Food truck vendor Jennifer Carlson said the lack of electricity posed a huge problem, especially for vendors who paid an additional $50 for electricity access. Carlson said the electricity that was eventually provided was not enough for the 100 vendors present, especially food trucks that rely on refrigeration. Several vendors purchased their own generators, and Thompson said they helped cover those costs, adding that nearly all vendors had electricity by July 27th. So you didn't have electricity on the starting of the event. The vendors were arriving at on the 23rd. The festival opened on the 25th, and then nearly all vendors had electricity by July 27th. Interesting. Carlson said she lost several $100s in inventory from food that spoiled. Take this call real quick. Yo, just recording an episode of Ohio Cannabis Report. Okay. Yeah, I'll give you a call back in like 20. All right, later. Um, Thompson said, that loss was on top of an $800 vending fee and payments to an employee she brought. Thompson said the electricity concerns also cost him significantly and indicated the festival did not make a profit this year. Other vendors reportedly lost several $1,000s. The site conditions also pose safety concerns, vendors alleged. One shared photos of a metal shards along the beach used for many activities. Carlson said she was situated near the security tent and thought officers were not taking things seriously. See a video of the site in the video player above, provided by vendor. My biggest concern is them doing this again and someone getting really hurt, Anderson said. I'm actually very surprised nothing catastrophic happened, that nobody lost a life. Thompson said the grounds and the logistics plans were approved by Pike County ahead of time. He said the site was also insured and on July 25th, he doubled the insurance. He said he knew some vendors were concerned after the event, but he has spoken with them and offered refunds or credits towards next year's festival. When you move a festival from zero to festival in 48 hours, it's like bringing a small village, Thompson said. And so, in the best of festivals, not everyone's going to be happy. Thompson said he was unaware of safety issues and the festival had security around the clock. He said the head of their security was a former law enforcement officer who runs Cannabis Safety Company and helped Thompson hire the rest of the security team. Carlson said she was especially alarmed after trying to ask for help getting her truck unstuck from the mud in the middle of the night. As she spoke with security, she allegedly heard a call come through the security officers from a young girl who was worried about her friend who was having a bad experience with drugs. Carlson alleged she watched security hang up on the girl and turn their music back up. Carlson alleged she asked to be driven over to help the girl herself and was told no. When asked about Carlson's security concern, Thompson said he had radio access throughout the festival and did not hear about it, adding, "That sounds completely made up." Carlson stayed through the festival, but many vendors left early. See, this is my thing. Like, if you Carlson, why ain't you call somebody? Why ain't you take no videos? Why ain't you make the report? But then you stayed at the festival? Okay. Like, this is why I be having issues with a lot of shit that be going on. Anderson left the same day she arrived. She said when she arrived at the site, she was surprised at the minimal facilities, signage, and attention to detail. By 7:15 p.m. Friday, she had had enough. Anderson said, unlike other vendors, she was able to get a free vending spot through a friend. She said she was lucky she only lost money on supplies, her hotel, and the time she spent preparing for the festival. Vendors also said they felt unsafe because of the illicit drug use. The festival sold and offered cannabis, but Thompson said it did not offer any other drugs or alcohol. See, this is the problem, bro. This is why we've been legislating at the state house. And then they're like, well, we want to get illicit drugs. You're not supposed to be selling weed. You're not supposed to be selling weed, people. And the problem is you have people that want to be legislating or want to be lobbying at the state house, putting on events like this that's just garbage just to make a quick buck. And then it messes everybody else up, man. And this is why I don't rock with a lot of people. This is why I don't go to a lot of events. Because again, one, I don't want to be out in fucking 90-degree weather in mud in the middle of Ohio with some random people high. Like, that shit don't sound fun. You know what I mean? Especially in the day. Y'all not redoing Woodstock. You know what I mean? Like, but this is how they ruin it for everybody. You know what I mean? And guarantee it was a bunch of YT people. It wasn't. There's not a black event, by the way. Ah, shit like this just be irking me. The festival sold and offered cannabis, which you're not supposed to be selling cannabis. Offering it, another thing. Selling it, words, right? Donating it. We had 1,500 people there. I would imagine there might be some other drugs, perhaps, but I'm not aware of them. I didn't see them. I didn't do them, Thompson said. This guy sounds real professional. If we had seen any drug use, we're going to completely stop that immediately. Sure. Anderson was especially concerned because she said she saw a baby and children at the festival. Thompson said after complaints last year, when organizers brought their kids, he made this year's event 21 and up. Thompson said he was not aware of any children, although multiple vendors reported seeing kids on site. He said he thought many of the concerns he'd heard about experiences at the festival were false. Of course, you're the facilitator of the event. Of course. When people start saying untruths online, at some point it feels a little bit like a witch hunt, Thompson said. Oh my god. No, you sounds like you just had a terrible fucking festival, buddy. Vendors told NBC4 they attended dozens of festivals every year, and none was like Stargazer. Carlson's first cannabis festival was in April, and she said there was a stark difference in safety. She said after Stargazer, she needed several days to recover from the shock and stress of the festival. I felt betrayed, a lot of betrayal, because the more that you looked around, you could see that they knew all these things were issues and just let us come anyway, Carlson said. None of the vendors NBC4 spoke with said they would return. Thompson is undeterred. He said the vast majority of the vendors were pleased with the event and plan to return. He's proud of the hard work his team did. Thompson plans to bring Stargazer Festival, Cannabis Festival, back to Waverly next summer at the same time. Chat, let me know what y'all think in the comments, please. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Um, did you go to Stargazer? If you went, please fill us in. How was the event? Was it unorganized, as this article says? Was it a betrayal? Was it safe? Did you see kids and babies running around? You know, let us know. Let us know, because we want to know. The good people want to know. So yeah, but that's why I don't be going to a lot of these events, man. Like people be having these events and promoting the events, and even on Ohio Cannabis Report, we're an independent media platform, so I kind of control all of the things that we do. The events that we attend, and we're open to attending events and covering events. But again, we're gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest because again, we are still in the new phases. I know people is out here trying to make money off of weed, but again, we still haven't undone the harms of the war on drugs, and that's why I don't support a lot of these events because again, it's not at the core of what I'm about. And until my people, my community, uh, uh, you know, issues are addressed, like I smoke weed, I consume weed for medicinal purposes, right? Like I'm not really consuming weed to party. And I don't really consume weed to party anyway. Like even in my recreational states, like when I decided to do it recreationally, like I'm doing it to relax or vibe. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing this shit to be in a fucking muddy ass field with a bunch of random people listening to bluegrass and rock and roll from some amateur ass bands. You know what I mean? Like that should just be seeming lame as fuck. So again, let us know, if you had an experience. I did get some text from the Ohio Cannabis Consumer Coalition, which a lot of us are a part of. People that have been um, involved at the state house the last few years. And so let me see. Let me see. Um, because there were some other people that were there at that event from here. So let me see. Because they were talking about it the other night. So this was some comments. Somebody sent it in. Yes, all of us that worked through that shit will have some PTSD, and those that let us down, like Tim Johnson, who was supposed to be security, will be clearly noted. That was a shit show, and Stargazer owes everyone communication, explanation, and money. And then somebody said, "What's crazy is with Big Cloud attached to it, they still did this. Our stage crew didn't get the money they needed for the work they had to do. Those guys didn't have their shit together, and they didn't let any of us know. I had to put out literal fires. So everyone knows my involvement was site operations and vendor check-in in exchange for minimal pay, a booth and passes for all of us in a grassroots booth area. Um, Big Cloud was the resources. A lot of the issues is reading shouldn't have been issues. I think one of those guys have a big generator, for example. Yeah, it's all well and good to have a big generator, but you also need the big cables and the connector boxes to go with the big generator. And if you don't order them from Sunbelt, then your crew has to run out and get them in the middle of the show because 50 by 100-foot extension cords get really hot and start melting after a few hours. They had two big generators and nothing else that was needed. It was awful. I'm glad that some people are able to come there and have a good time, but I'll tell you what the staff was not. Some of them, because it was super stressful. People had to go a mile away to get water, and all of that just did not make sense. And somebody says, so I saw this story earlier and I meant to drop the link and the ask about how much was sensationalizing and how much was it merit. Sounds like it was pretty bad. That all said, the paraphrasing or what appears to be in part Rodney Hash highlights is sort of alarming. Like, as I absolutely not a lawyer, sort of read that as a admission to the sale of unlicensed product, which is exactly what I fear they are going to come back with in hearings come fall session. Then, see, cannabis is unsafe. My thoughts, like, why would he say that? I don't know. The cops showed up there on Saturday night because their staff called them. There was an unruly tripping guy up by the DJ. When I went up there, there was local cop car and three sheriff cars. They could have come down into the festival and raided the whole place, but they didn't. They just took the kid away. Most cops don't really care about weed stuff anymore. It's generally the younger guys, and some departments have a few assholes at the top of their bureaucratic BS. But a lot of the time, especially in lower income areas, they literally don't have the time and resources to deal with it at all, let alone the court system. Yeah, I even rule the cops are not so much bothering cannabis consumers. The guy was tripping, which would have been a perfect excuse if they wanted to come in and mess with people. They had four police cars there at once at 1 in the morning. So yeah, I mean that's background from people that was there that vended site operations. Sounds like it was a shit show. And so that's why, again, I don't be going to these events. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause that shit just sounds whack. And again, they try. I mean, people is ruining it for everybody, and this is people that's supposedly, in the community trying to, help legislation. Um, so yeah, again, let me know what y'all think about that. Mm. Let's go over this again. Legal weed sales hit 1 billion in Ohio in first year of recreational use. We've talked about this before. Ohio principals share perspectives, concerns about marijuana in schools after legalization. Um, Toledo, Ohio. It's been just over a year since Ohio legalized recreational marijuana. Researchers at Ohio State University's Drug Enforcement and Policy Center surveyed Ohio's K through 12 principals last August to see what concerns they had about marijuana legalization and how they anticipated it would impact their students. Ahead of this upcoming school year, the center surveyed principals again to see what they actually experienced in last year and what concerns remain. Jana, I don't know how to say that last name, the center's administrative director, said principals are important voices and observers in the conversation around marijuana and children. Principals have a pretty good worldview of their individual schools and how students are performing. She said one thing that concerned her personally in this year's survey is the perception among principals that students' physical and mental health quality has decreased over last year. That doesn't mean that it could be caused by marijuana legalization alone, but there's definitely a trend where principals are seeing some deterioration, whether it's marijuana related, whether it's COVID aftershocks. We do not know that for sure, but there are definitely concerns that principals are expressing with about the well-being of their students. The survey found that some concerns principals expressed heading into last school year didn't pan out as they expected. Principals didn't see as significant of an impact in areas like dropout rates, student behavior at school, or overall school safety. The survey showed still close to 80% of high school principals and 38% of middle school principals concern their students' marijuana use outside of school to be a problem. They also raised concerns about the impact of parental marijuana use on their students. Researchers said more studies are needed on that front. While some principals reported increasing education around marijuana and general drug use, a vast majority agreed that schools need more resources and funding for marijuana specific education. 88%, 77%, and 79% of high school, middle school, and elementary school principals agreed with the survey's statement that more funding is needed for marijuana education. The perception among young people and even adults is that marijuana use is not harmful. And while that can be debated left and right, I think the consensus is that for people under 25 years of age, marijuana use, especially heavy marijuana use, can in fact be harmful. More education about how marijuana use can impact your academic performance or your athletic performance, that seems like something that the principals are saying is needed more in Ohio schools. And so I will say this as a parent, as a former athlete, as somebody that did consume cannabis in high school, it is up to the parents really to educate their children. The state itself isn't spending money on educating the state around cannabis. So I think, and the state is taking away money from education for these students. So I think a lot of, us in the general public, us as parents, us as cannabis consumers, whether it's medical or recreational, we should be the ones educating the broader community on cannabis. Obviously, I don't advocate for children or young people using cannabis under 21. Like I said, I did it in high school, but I also realized quickly that it wasn't even recreational at that point. I was using it for medicinal purposes because as an athlete, I was dealing with pain, I was dealing with trauma, anxiety, PTSD already. Um, and so I found that cannabis really helped me relax and balance on my body. But I also wasn't somebody that consistently used it in high school. I would do it on the weekends, every blue moon with a friend. I got to college, I became a little bit more, um, I began to use it a little bit more in college. And then I would say, as of the last few years, I've used it a little bit more to help me with um, my physical pain. I have arthritis and then dealing with trauma, PTSD, and grief. But again, cannabis isn't the only thing that I use, or, it's a part of my routine, right? I look at cannabis as medicine, as vegetables, it's like a salad, right? But that's why education is so important. A lot also, these youth are using cannabis because they think it's cool, they think it's fun, they see the entertainers doing it, but they don't know a lot of the youth are dealing with trauma, obviously coming out of COVID. Some of them live in stressful households. You never know the case, and so a lot of times people are using it medicinally and don't even know it. But that's why it's important for, that's why we have this platform. hopefully to spread awareness and education to the Ohio community about what's going on. But also just having the conversation to hopefully end the stigma behind it so more people feel comfortable and confident discussing these topics publicly, because obviously it is a very touchy subject, but we have to talk about it. We got to talk about it. Trump administration eyeing federal marijuana reclassification. Change could impact Ohio's cannabis market. Research. Trump administration says it will consider reclassifying marijuana on the federal level. Marijuana is classified as a Schedule One substance, putting it on par legally with heroin, LSD, quaaludes, ecstasy, and other substances. Although recreational cannabis sales started more than a year ago in Ohio, the federal reclassification of marijuana would open pathways for dispensaries to access some banking services and tax benefits, as well as lifting some barriers towards medical cannabis research. But reclassifying marijuana would not make it nationally legal for recreational use by adults. It would instead change the way marijuana is regulated and taxed, Larry Pegram said, the owner of Pure Ohio Wellness. Pure Ohio Wellness operates a cultivating and processing site in Springfield and a dispensing in Dayton. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Obviously, Trump got a lot of stuff going on. I believe we need to declassify cannabis. It shouldn't be classified at all because, again, cannabis is like a vegetable for real. You know what I mean? Like, kids can't just get high from the weed, right? Like, you got to combust it, you got to have a vape, get your hands on some edibles, stuff like that. So, let me know in the comments what you guys think. So, those are a few headlines. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Be sure to show some love, and we appreciate all the support that we've received over the years of doing this programming. Hopefully, we'll look to have some more people on to interview or just be a part of the show as guest hosts as we continue to roll out the YouTube Live. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Gerald Moore Jr., founder and co-host of the Ohio Cannabis Report. I hope we gave you guys some insightful news into the Ohio cannabis industry. And be sure to hit the bell for the notification bell so you guys know when I go live. Again, thank you guys for your time. Look forward to talking to you later. Peace.